Apple just released the final member of the iPhone 16 lineup with the budget-friendly iPhone 16e, an iPhone taking the spot of the old SE lineup to more align with Apple's naming convention. Now, if you watch my release video of the 16e or anyone else's, you'll know that Apple made an incredibly new, budget-friendly phone, but cut out some very nice features from Apple's flagship devices that have been around for years. In the video, I'll break down the biggest differences between the two great phones and help you make the all-important choice of the 16e or shell out an extra $200 for the 16. Now, if you're an Apple fan or a returning viewer, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as only 1% of my viewers are currently subscribed, and it really helps the channel reach a wider audience. Now let's start with the design between the two. At first glance, the iPhone 16 and 16e look pretty similar, but there are some key differences. Now, besides the major camera differences, both the iPhone 16 and 16e share Apple's sleek modern design, but the materials set them apart. The iPhone 16 features a premium titanium frame with an all-glass back, while the 16e uses a slightly lighter aerospace-grade aluminum to keep costs down. Although a lighter and cheaper material, this will also help reduce large scuffs and scratches on the titanium models, as they've been known to be prone to. Another small difference, the iPhone 16 offers more color choices, while the 16e sticks to classic tones of black and white. Maybe not the biggest selling point, but it is something to consider. A major difference is the lack of camera button on the 16e, which came out in September on the 16 models. Now, if you're stuck on this as a deciding factor, let me help you save $200 and go with the 16e. The 16e now has the action button with the all-new added functionality. Not only can it be set to open the camera, but it can also be set to open visual intelligence, a feature used to search text, translate text, open images, search images, and so much more. So as a 16e owner, you can have the camera button on the lock screen and visual intelligence on the action button, or vice versa. The only functionality the 16e is missing is the touch capacitive functionality of the camera button to change settings. But as someone who has used this phone since it came out, I never used the button to change settings, so please don't get caught up in this as a missing feature. The other difference that I mentioned earlier is the cameras, which features 1 versus 2 on the 16, but I'll go over those in the camera section later in the video. Now let's move on to display. Now both models have a 6.1-inch OLED panel, but the iPhone 16 gets a higher peak brightness. 800 nits on the 16e and 1000 on the 16. The 16 gets ProMotion support for smooth scrolling, meanwhile the 16e keeps things at a standard 60 Hz refresh rate. Now, a major contentious feature missing on the iPhone 16e is a dynamic island, a feature I've personally come to love and always have an app showing scores or other apps' information all the time. The 16e is stuck with the notch and unable to utilize live events. iOS will still give you live events on your lock screen, but that's only a small win compared to you could have it when your phone is open. Both iPhones are covered in Apple's ceramic shield, but some sources say the 16e has an older generation of this. And now for the camera, which there are a lot of differences that I'll feature side by side so you can see them more easily. The iPhone 16 and 16e both have a 48 megapixel main sensor, but the 16 gets an upgraded ultra-wide lens with better low light performance. That means sharper night shots and better details in your landscape photos. Both phones get a 1 and 2 times optical zoom, but the 16 adds the 0.5 option. Both phones get a 1x and 2x optical zoom, but the 16 adds a 0.5 option. The 16e and 16 both have photogenic styles, with the 16 having the latest generations, and here's where the camera differences really come out. The 16 gains macro photography, spatial photos and videos, cinematic mode, and action modes. The 16e does not have any of these options. If you're into video, the iPhone 16 supports cinematic mode in 4K at 60 FPS, while the 16e caps out at 30 FPS. It's a small difference, but can matter for content creators or getting that slow motion video of a whale breach in the water on vacation. Now don't get me wrong, the 16e has a great camera for the price, and if you're a point and click photographer of your dog, this camera will get the job done 7 days out of the week. Let's move on to internals. Battery life is another factor when deciding which phone to choose. The 16e gets up to 26 hours of battery life, and the 16 gets up to 22, so a decent bump on battery performance on the cheaper model. Both phones support wireless charging, but the 16e loses MagSafe charging, a feature I cannot wrap my head around why they omitted it. The only reason I can think of is internal space, and they simply couldn't fit it in, or price, but I don't see how MagSafe is that expensive anymore as it's on almost all of their iPhone devices. The 16 and 16E each get the newest A18 chip, a huge win for the 16E, but it does lack one GPU core, giving it 4 instead of 5 from the 16. Another head scratcher in my opinion, I just don't understand why they changed. It also has Apple's brand new C1 chip, a big part of the battery performance, but time will tell how this chip will perform after it's released. For Wi-Fi, the 16E gets Wi-Fi 6 connectivity and the 16 gets Wi-Fi 7. But the majority of people with standard Wi-Fi modems at home are not taking advantage of this, so I wouldn't worry about it at all. Alright, and let's talk about price. The iPhone 16 starts at $799 while the 16E comes in at $599, a $200 difference. So which one should you get? If you want some of the newest features like the camera button and dynamic island, the choice is simple. You have to pick the 16. But if you can live with the workarounds I mentioned earlier, the 16E is an incredible option for the price and performance you're getting out of it. The 16E also gets all Apple Intelligence features, so if you care about that, you don't need to worry when making a choice between the two. So which iPhone are you going to choose? Let me know in the comments what you decide and why you picked what you did. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Apple news and rumors. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.